intentionally set aside time to reflect upon our rights and responsibilities in society, our connection to a rich African heritage, and how these things inform and strengthen each other. Not only is the Gilliam College of Liberal Arts the largest academic unit of the university, but its combination of disciplines also encompasses the depth and breadth of human experience and prepares students for the task embodied by this convocation. The theme of this year's convocation is the triadic relationship, engaging the motherland. What is significant about this is that what will happen this morning will not be a lecture, but a rigorous dialogue among a panel of scholars from across our campus, the Mid-Atlantic region, and around the globe. But it is more than that. I posit that our esteemed guests do not wish to talk only with each other. They desire, no, they expect to involve all of you in the conversation. Remember that word engagement in the title of the convocation? That is the price of membership in the Morgan community. All of us who work, study, create, and play here are committed to being part of something larger and more profound than our individual selves. We honor and interrogate the past while shaping the future from the clay of possibility. If there is a greater privilege than this, I have yet to find it. Today's convocation is another step in your lifelong journey of discovery, engagement, and disruption of the status quo. Go boldly in the direction of this undiscovered country. Thank you, and enjoy the activity today.
Thank you very much. My name is Hello? Thank you very much, Dr. Peterkin, for that introductory remarks and representing the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts. You are all welcome to this year's convocation marking the connection with the motherland. And I have here with me 3 of the panelists. We're supposed to be 4. Unfortunately, Ms. Asintawa Bokiewa, who happens to be a Morgan alum, 2007. She was in my class, African Diaspora class, in 2007. Couldn't make it. She is strong, as we say in the Christendom. And as such, I believe she's with us via the live stream. But I have with us today, from my military left, our dear sister, who is so connected to the motherland, and we share with you our own way of recreating the Africanness in her. That is Miss Angela Marshall. She's a staff of the National Treasure, Morgan State University. On my far military right is a chief lecturer. That is the highest academic position in polytechnics in Nigeria, who is also a doctoral student in industrial engineering, right? Computational mathematics. Pastor Mrs. Ifeanyiwa Madu. And then next to her is Dr. Omoshalewa Olaoluwa, who is a postdoctoral fellow with us, a senior lecturer from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. For those who do not know, University of Ibadan was the first of the first 3 universities in West Africa and indeed sub-Saharan Africa, created by the British in the mid-40s before independence. They will be sharing with you their own understanding their own experiences, and that is why we're having a panel dialogue. It is not for us to present according to Malik, according to Johnson, according to Tijani. And then, of course, you have the opportunity to interact. We hope to be here for another 50 minutes, making it at least an hour presentation. Thank you so much. So we go by the program, and the first thing we intend to do is to read some poetic verses. I can tell you the rendition of those poems came out of this book I edited. It's an experiment that I got to know about 2-3 days ago, that my colleague in history department, I would say Dr. Malik, because it's ABD, I believe strongly is about to get it, and he will get it. We just stumbled on one another, and as I was talking about it, it's really fitting to what he's been doing in his class. So the poems in this book was not written by those that experienced the odious, horrible, terrible trip between West Coast, Southern Coast of Africa to the New World. It was written by students here seated in my class here at Morgan in 2006, 2007, 2008, all the way to 2009. It was an experiment we carried on for those years in the classroom, so that students can either rap or engage in what we call the poetic verses, turning the text they read into poems. And so we will go through the first rendition by starting from Miss...
Which one do you want me to read?
Angela. You can read anyone. You can pick anyone. The book is here. So I assign you some, but you have it there. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe we don't mind the cost since we have already paid the price. We don't give up. We are black. We are back. And that's a fact.
That is the first one?
That was the first
Okay.
one.
That was the first one, and it was written...
The second one that you gave me.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next one will be read by Dr. Shaliwa.
Thank you, sir. So the next one is titled Zombie. Born in Palmas, captured by Portuguese, learned the sacraments, Latin and Portuguese. Became a strong warrior. Became a respected warrior. Became a powerful warrior. Became a fearless warrior. Became a Palmares leader. Resisted to Portuguese invasion. Betrayed by his own people. Captured and beheaded. Honored today by Brazilians. Zombie hero. Zombie freedom fighter. Zombie symbol of freedom. Zombie pride warrior. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then the next one by Mrs. Madu.
Thank you. Who am I? Always, I keep asking myself over and over again, but the answer seems very distant away. I asked my own father, but he knew not. And I asked my own mother, neither did she. I asked the experts, but their answer was nothing to write home about. They told me I come from the East, but the East knows me not. Others said I come from the West, but the West knows me not. A few more said, I come from the South, but the South knows me not. The rest said, I come from the North, but the North knows me not. One last person told me, I come from the Central, but the Central knows me not. They said, I come from 2 continents, but both knows me not. I will relish the day someone tell me where I am from, because I'm getting fed up and confused at the same time. This question needs to be answered before my children come to bear the same burden. Someone, please tell me, who am I? Because I am dying inside. And the truth is the only thing that can save my situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to read What is Africa to Me, written by Jasmine Norman, and I'll give you the names of the authors of the other poems. What is Africa to me? A is for the anguish I feel when I see the way my African brothers and sisters being exploited in the name of business transactions. F is for the freedom that these people, my people, were granted by birth and not by their oppressors. R is for the racial slavery that served as a convenient method of division and degradation of my people. I is for the incomprehensible cruelty these people, my people, your people, experienced during and after their European interactions. C is for the innocent children that were taken from their mothers, for the children that were born into a system in which they were regarded for their value as properties, not for their virtuous minds. A is for the aftermath. Although the past has taught us to hate one another, that the strong should dominate while the weak is exploited, we have the capacity to learn from our mistakes. We have the power to change our future by asking ourselves, what is Africa to me? Thank you. I would like to fire the first set of questions to our panelists. And the question has to do with the theme of our gathering today, celebrating the motherland, looking at our connections. And each of the panelists will respond based on their experiences. Again, this is not an academic presentation of according to this, according to that, in the archives or whatever. It's just purely a narrative. And the narrative of self is much more impressive. It's a good way of learning whether to become a leader or to even do anything for oneself. So the first question is, can you share with us your background as it relates to Africa? Can you share with us? I will start with Mrs. Madu. Can you share with us your background as it relates to Africa? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, I was born in Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria, the most populous country in the continent of Africa, a beautiful country with everything good and some things not too good you can think of. I am the first in a family of 4. I have 3 younger brothers And in Africa, once you are the first, termed Ada, you're like assistant mother. You take care of all your younger siblings. I mean, till now, they are grown men, they have their own families, but because I have been their stepmother, till tomorrow, any issues they have, they still somehow look up to me. Now, this is what Africa makes you do. And yeah, I was born just before the Civil War, after the Civil War ended in Nigeria. So my father would tell us stories about what happened, how terrible it was, how children died of kwashiorkor, and all that. But there's this spirit we have, where we believe that our strength comes in our numbers. In my local parlance, it's called Igwebike. It means crowd, or the populace is your power. So we believe in community. And people survived because of community. A lot more would have died, especially from my side of the country, because the war was like between the north and the east. And I come from the eastern part. Okay? And then my grandma would tell us tales, in the evenings. Yeah, TV was on, but then she would tell us folk tales about tortoise, and it connects you to what happened even before she was born. So for me, Africa is community. Africa is, where you're going, don't leave your brother. Where you're going, don't leave your sister. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll call on Ms. Angela Marshall to respond to the same question.
Good morning, everyone, once again. My experience is a little different. I first had an urge to want to know more about Africa based on a conference, a youth conference that I used to attend when I was young. It was called the Loch Harry Baptist Farm Mission Convention. And that conference exposed us to a lot of different countries as it relates to us raising money, sending missionaries over. And I always had a desire to go, but never the opportunity came for me. And so years later, I ended up working for a company that allowed me the opportunity to travel, finally get the opportunity to travel to my first African country, which was Tanzania. And from that trip, it just allowed me to travel even more. I personally just recently found out that my genetics, DNA, is that I am, my first line is Nigerian. I had been told that many years, and last year mostly, I was kind of told that you're Nigerian, but you're not sure because of what you've been exposed to family-wise. And so this year I took time and had my DNA done, and my first level, I am 76% African, and my first level was Nigerian. And so it was very exciting to hear, having so many friends in some of these other African countries. So it has been a true experience for me overall, having traveled to Tanzania, Kenya, Nigeria multiple times, and looking forward to traveling to other places. My grandmother had a desire to start an orphanage, and she's now long passed on, but she did start an orphanage in Uganda, so that is another journey that I am looking forward to traveling to, is Uganda, to see the finished product that she put in place. So for me, as an American, now reaching towards finding more of our heritage, because when I was in school, they took all of the African learning out by the time I was growing up. And so it was a lot of things that we missed in knowing. And most of the knowledge that I've gathered from the African culture was based on either the convention, people I ended up meeting over my years of journey, and working for an international division of a company, which then allowed me more exposure and knowledge of our descendants and our cultural backgrounds.
Thank you very much. Next is Dr. Omoshalewa Olaoluwa. Same question.
Thank you very much, sir. My own experience is quite different from the first two speakers because I came from a polygamous home in Nigeria where we have 4 wives and very close to 20 in number of children. And of course, we all grew together. But at some point, it is natural to have rivalry in such a family. And to make it a little tough for me, I happen to be the only child of my mom. And at some point, we had to leave the family house due to rivalry in the family. But by and large, it wasn't really, it was a tough time for me as a young girl. But eventually, as the earlier speaker said, there's this idea of community child raising effect or community child raising principle in Africa where a child that belongs to an individual belongs to everybody. And so it's really helped me. Of course, not really growing up under a father directly, but, there were people around to encourage, to keep supporting. And eventually I see it as a means of making me strong, a means of making me strong such that I could face life in a better way. Well, I didn't know if I didn't pass through that experience, I wouldn't know where I'll be now. But that experience, though not too palatable, but eventually made me strong. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We will go to the next round of poetic verses rendition. And I will start with Dr. Omoshalewa Olaoluwa to read our next poems.
Thank you, sir. So the next poem is titled Remember. Remember the land we came from. Remember the culture we carried with us. Remember the strength we possessed. Remember slavery as words broke us but made you. Remember we can never be forgotten. Remember to always tell our story. Remember. Thank you.
Very much. I think the next one will be rendered by Miss Marsha.
We are Black. Who am I today? With this tied around my neck and this belt around my waist, acting like those people who put me on chains. Who was I yesterday? With the shining sun on my face, working on those plantations that I hate. How high the cost of freedom have been for my race. I am looking at my people, Black and proud, back and loud. Here they are. As people, we aspire to remain who we are. We have been trying it so far, and then maybe we'll rise a new day.
Thank you very much. Miss Madhu?
Okay. I always wondered where I came from before I got here to America. It was never enough for me to be a New Yorker, an American, an African American. It had always been enough for my mother and my sister to identify that way. One day in 27, I went on the journey to find my earliest maternal roots. I assumed I was Angolan. I just knew I had to be. I liked the way it sounded. My blood was rare, mysterious, and from the East haplogroup, L3F. Ethiopian, Nubian, or even Somali. I was a real Nubian, a real Axiom. My earliest maternal ancestor is named Lalamika. That means great crier of tears. She cried when her children were marched across the desert for centuries for slave trade in the East and West. I've grown from the experience and made a large step towards knowing the history of myself I always wanted. Thank you.
Very much. I'm going to read the next one that Ms. Asintawa Bokiawe was supposed to read, and it's titled Diaspora. And it goes thus. Dutch, Portuguese, British, French, who stole identities and lives from people. Angolan, Ashanti, Angola is what they call them. A slave to new lands is what they became. Put to work against their wills, rivers, seas, and oceans, they traveled from Africa to the Arabian Peninsula, to the Indian Ocean, the Far East, and the Americas. They were forced. So we're talking about the forced migration of Africans from the continent that also predates the transatlantic slave trade. That is one thing that we need to understand from this connecting, particularly since we're on this side of the world. And in a short while, Brother Malik will share with us what he has been doing in his class in terms of recreating and connecting the triadic relationship postulated by one of the great historians of our time. So we'll take the next set of questions, and it's going to be a double barrel because of time. The question goes thus: what do you think Gen Z, because most of the audience and those watching us live belongs to generation after us. Okay, so we call them the Gen Z, can learn about Africa. What do you think they can learn about Africa? We've heard the story or the narrative of Miss Marshall, born here, natural citizen, yet going through elementary, high school. There was an absence of self, about identity. So she has to learn that within the household. In other words, the curriculum was not really talking about you. When you talk about the miseducation of the African American and all the civil rights or the Bill of Rights thus far, then you can connect with what she went through. Then when you go on this other side with our sisters from Africa, Nigeria to be specific, you can talk about the community, the fact that it takes indeed a village to raise a child. It takes indeed the village. And I can also connect with that growing up in what is called Lagos Island. Lagos Island is within the, one of the cities, if not where the British actually started their colonial rule. And within our own family compound called Kakawa, growing up, we were punished by people that did not even for any, any minor thing, by people that do not belong. In other words, they don't bear our names, but they're just resident. Until we grew, we started wondering, okay, why is that? They say, well, it takes a village. So anyone can send you on errands. Anyone can give you something. Anyone can take care of you. But again, are we able to recreate that when we move over here? So the first question is, asking us to address that. What do you think they can learn? As you think about that, the panelists, I want you to look at the spirit of Kwanzaa. Remember, the 60s, mid-60s was a very, very volatile period in the history of the United States of America. And what happened in Los Angeles, we can say the issue of Black Lives Matters had always been on. It has always been, of significance in the development, the trajectory, history of what is today the United States. And as a result of that, Dr. Karenga, had the audacity in Los Angeles in the wake of the West, it will call it revolt, and I subscribe to the use of the word revolt, as opposed to the Eurocentric or the other side of the argument. And there emerged Kwanzaa. About 2 days ago, or 3, if I'm right, I believe it was on Saturday, we celebrated Kwanzaa on our campus. And what is Kwanzaa to you? How do you navigate or recreate your African consciousness in your neighborhood or home? So this particular question, as soon as the panelists address it, I would love for Brother Malik, who has generously brought most of his students, to speak to that issue of that double consciousness and how he's been able to recreate. And then we'll also open up to 1, 2, 3 comments from audience here present. I'm not sure whether we can have audience watching us live stream to speak. If not, then we'll limit it to here, and then we'll do the last rendition of poems, and then we'll close shop. Is that okay? Who would like to go first? Of the panelists. The question 1, how do you think the Gen Z can learn, or what do you think they can learn about Africa? Is it community? Is it teamwork? Is it, And then the second one is, how have you, particularly for both Ms. Madu and Mr. Shalewa, how have you been able, since you arrived in the state, recreate, yourself, your culture, your religion, surviving, adapting, assimilation, etc., etc. And to Ms. Angela, how have you, despite that vacuum in your storyline, been able to fill in the gap, connecting in a tragic manner? Thank you. You want to go first? Okay.
Thank you, sir. So what I want to tell the Gen Z is that, first of all, I know that, of course, we are in generation of high technology, such that at times you could even be indoor all through the day, and you couldn't have to come out to do anything because you're on your computer or on your phone, or you're doing something, even for days. But at the same time, I don't think our virtual communication or interaction is still strong enough to replace the physical interaction, particularly when we are still with our parents. So as much as we are engaging all we do, we should still consciously create time to relate with one another, our parents, our younger ones, our friends. And another thing I want to let them know is that just an injunction from the Bible, I'm referring to it because I'm a Christian, is that for the young ones, they should remember their God in the days of their youth, when the days of trouble has not come. So it is very important that as you go along with your God. You know, of course, you have much interaction with your tools now, your devices. Depending on your religion, we have so many religions, materials there that you can interact with, even in your busy schedule. And also, I want you to learn, one of the questions that was sent to us is, what is Africa to you? And you know, personally to me, I just want to refer to an answer that I have to the question is that Africa has been an epitome of strength to me. You know, strength, hard work, diligence, self-discipline, and all. And so I want to say that to our coming younger ones, we should be as much as possible be hardworking, diligent, and because with all these virtues, we will be able to rule wherever we get to in the world. So we shouldn't let go of all this. Another precious verse in the Bible is, we should not remove the ancient landmark. Of course, though there are advances in technology, but yet there are basic principles from our author that if we want to live a meaningful life, we have to abide with. So I want to encourage them that technology should not take these virtues away from our life, because these are the injunctions and virtues that will make us live a fulfilled life. No matter how busy you are with your tools, you know, find time to relate with people, with your family, with your parents, with your younger ones, with your uncles. Don't live a lonely life. Man shall not, it's not good for a man to live alone. Not in marriage alone, but even in every other aspect of life. And what other question? I'm sorry. Okay.
Let's move on to.
As it relates to the Gen Z, I would say for me, not learning what I've learned over these last 10 years, I would say, as it relates to the African culture, it is just mind-boggling when you talk to those who are from those countries, how they know their history, how they know their background. It is so intriguing when literally I did not want to believe the people who were telling me that I was part Nigerian, because other people had told me I was part Kenyan. Like that was just in my mind. But when I met my husband, he told me, he was like, you are part Nigerian, and literally was able to tell me the tribe that I'm mixed with and all of that. That is knowing your history, knowing your culture. I can't say I know any of that from here in America at all. And so I would encourage our young people to really know your history. It has been so rewarding to learn all of the information. When I sit and I talk with them, when I'm over there, it is just like sitting in school again. And now you're learning so much of the different cultures and backgrounds. And literally, nope, I cannot speak none of that stuff they say. But I can tell when the dialects change, when the language change, that it's not the same. And so here in America, we've not been exposed to that unless you are around, you have a very diverse cultural background, in which I have that with knowing a lot of working in my different environments have afforded me the opportunity to have been culturalized by people that I've learned from. But I would encourage you, if you are a true American, learn your history that's beyond the United States. Learn your cultural background. It has been a very I wish The opportunity back when I was young really opened up a door for me to go and travel and learn. Because when I listen to them, they know their culture without opening up a book. They can just run it down and give you history. And I'm not saying that some of our people don't know the history here in America, but do we really know our ancestry history? When I did the ancestor, and I'm not advertising for no company, but when I did my DNA background, when that company sent back my information, it was so detailed, and it was very surprising. I didn't know it was going to be that detailed when they sent me back my information. Exactly what states here in America my family descended from, and how it connected back to Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo. And you got to remember, you got a mother and a father. So your descendants come from, your DNA comes from both sides. So it's all mixed in there. So it's good to learn all of that. I can't tell you why my grandmother chose Uganda. I'm now still trying to find out history now, because why did she choose Uganda to build a girls' orphanage there? I'm still trying to find that information out. So I would encourage you, learn your history, learn your background, your cultural background, not just the stuff you know here in America, but your descendants beyond. And it may not be Africa, it may be another country, it may be another culture, but it's good to know it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Madu.
Thank you. Yeah, Africa connotes strength. I'm sure why the slave trade kept on going was because of the strength of the African man and the African woman. They were strong people. So that is what Africa is. Africa is strong. And we said, in Africa, we believe in spirituality. That was why it was so easy for the missionaries to gain an in-way, because the average African believes there is a supreme being. We don't run our lives as if 1 + 1 is always 2. No, we believe there's a supernatural power behind the 1 + 1. So, and we embraced the God of the white man. And we didn't make a mistake. It was all still in the plan. Now, for our Gen Z people, these are youths, highly collaborative, self-reliant. I mean, people that believe in practical. I mean, it's easy for you to get to your roots. I mean, she just told us how she got her DNA tests. You guys, I mean, the way you guys are going, in the next few years, you will even find a better and easier way to get the particular family you came out from. So look for it. Yeah, because, you know, my 14-year-old son, we came here last year when he was 13. Sir, you know, one of the days he went to Google Map and he pinpointed our house in Bauchi. That's the northern part of Nigeria. He said, Mommy, this is our house. And truly, that was my building from here. So it means you can connect. He traced from the roots to my house, to the gate, to the house. If I call the people in my house, do you know we are watching you guys? You know, I mean, this is technology. So Gen Z, use technology and know who you are. My son would tell me the story of Top Man, about the woman that was trying to save slaves. He got it here. And we're going to be 1 year in the US on the 25th of December. So if he could get that from your culture here, then I'm sure you guys, if you're interested, you should be able to get much more. That's the point I'm trying to say. It's about interest. And then the community spirit in Africa says, you know, you can come into your house and you're all on the table eating and you're invited. We didn't know you're coming. We didn't plan for you to come. But you could just knock on the door. We open the door and say, oh, we're on the table. Come in, and you sit down. And somehow the food manages to go around. That's Africa for you. You know, something stood out so much for me. I came here on a TED Fund scholarship. I've never seen Professor Tijani before ever in my life. The first day I saw him was on the 26th of December last year. Yes, that was the first time I was going to see him. We were doing meetings online and all that. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. When he was in Nigeria, he probably was in the West. I'm from the East, but I live in the North. And he would take us to his house. After church service, he invited us to his church. I happened to be a pastor in Nigeria. I was invited to his church, and I got there, and it was okay. So I'm also assisting the main pastor of the church here. Why? That's what I said. The African man, the African spirit knows there's a supreme being. So wherever we go, we connect with people of like minds. Like I said, 1 + 1 most times is not equal to 2. We believe that much in Africa. You may say, oh, we are back ages, but we know. I mean, let me give you an example so that you understand we have some things happening in Africa. Somebody sleeps, dreams that somebody slapped him in the dream. I'm saying true life story. He wakes up, and that side of his cheek got swollen. Nothing was wrong with him before he slept. It was swollen. They went to the hospital. Doctors could not find what was wrong with him. Now, that is African science. Okay? So, what am I saying? Africa is full of mysteries and full of practical solutions to problems.
Amen.
That is how Africa is.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are running against time. And for Gen Z, my advice would be that you have all that you need to know more about Africa, to know more about the world. You know that at the national treasure, that is your university, Morgan State University, the strategic plan for the next 5 years is centered around Africa. It's about global education footprint. And that is why President Wilson, Provost Yu, and all other leaders are making no apologies for that particular focus. Let me quickly tell you about the opportunities that you have on campus. You may know it, you may not. I'm currently with the Division of International Affairs. I'm the Executive Director of Office of Global Partnerships, Africa. And I know that you have the opportunity to join Peace Corps. You get paid, all bills paid. And even when you finish, you can get into the federal employment at the higher level. You have the opportunity for Fulbright A's, okay? You have opportunities for study abroad. But all these opportunities centers around what is the major learning moment as an African. And what is that? Preparation. The second one is preparation. And I guess you know the third way to success now is what? Preparation. I'll call on Mr. Malik to just give us his own view on all that we've been talking about, and then we will allow one or two of you to say something, and then we'll read the last. We still have one more poem, right? We'll read it. Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead. No, you speak, and then we.
Okay. How you guys doing? I know my class. Come on now. How y'all doing? Thank you. You guys remember this? First day? Remember that? So to link the Africa with now, I don't use a nomenclature of this society. You're not Generation Z, you're now, okay? So I used music to get you guys to speak up so I can hear your voice. And the first assignment we did was a culture wheel. So we had to understand that you, as African Americans or Africans, you have a unique culture. And then we could bring the culture together, and I used the music to base the culture. Okay, and then after that, what we did was we looked. Oh, sorry, I forgot, because we played it so much in class. What we did after that in the classroom, we linked our cultures to African cultures, the uniqueness. And I usually talk to the last person in the back of the room. And the second class, it was Tristan. And then right here, it's him, Sheila. She's in the back. And I pointed out that when you're in the back of the room, or you're in the back of the society, you have a unique view. We have a unique view as African people. And then I linked everyone to Africa. You always have to see Africa in a good light. We as African Americans, Miss Maxine, we as African Americans, we're like Joseph of old, right? That we were sold into bondage. And we're here in America, and we're here for a reason, and we need to reconnect like Joseph did with his brothers. We have to reconnect. So all of my assignments was geared toward, if I talked about Ghana, if I talked about Mali, if I talked about Songhai, we talked about ancient Ghana, ancient Mali, ancient Songhai, but I also showed you the now. I wanted you to see the high rises. I wanted you to see the skyscrapers. I wanted you to see the highways. I wanted you to see Africa now. I didn't want you to see ancient Africa and think it is something negative. And I someone spoke on the, took a village. Me growing up, I grew up in the South, the deep South, and they could send me on an errand like you. I know your grandfather, I know your grandmother, so if I got in trouble, I could get, I don't know how many spankings on the way home. But if I did something good, I got kudos all the way home. The history of our people, we must be, diaspora means, it just means the dispersion of people outside of their homeland. It has nothing to do with slavery, because Africans sometimes left without the bondage of being enslaved, just like every other person. And we have to link with Africa, because the Irish, you hear that name, what do you hear? They're from Ireland. They're from England, the French. So African Americans, we have to link to Africa because it's our homeland. There's no way around it. So we should always, because I grew up, my mother, she taught us African American history. She put the love of our people in us. And all she had was a library card. The knowledge is there. You guys have a unique opportunity because you have computers in your hand. And in my class, Dr. Chijani, I tried to create a space where everyone felt comfortable, no stress. I couldn't get away with no test, but I tried to do no stress. So folks in open conversation, in a space where everybody felt comfortable. I didn't read the poem because I texted Dr. Tijani earlier because I'm dyslexic. And you guys tell me, oh, you teach different. Well, I teach within the confines of my disability. And I don't even call it a disability. I call it my blessing.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Dr. Malik. At this point, but we are very short of time. We will take one or two comments from the audience. Anyone that would like to brace the trail? Yes, sir. You can come on down and use the mic. We need help. So we will round up with a group rendition of a poem that I've chosen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. How's everybody doing?
My name is Femi, originally from Nigeria. I've lived in the US for about 11 years now. So one thing I can take away from this event is that the world is everywhere. And if you're African American or Black American, who you are can be easily traced back to Africa. So having said that, you gotta be intent in digging to knowing who you are. And I feel if you trace it back, you can learn so much and you can discover yourself. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I think that is the only one with the audacity to speak to this noble audience. Yes, oh, there's another one with audacity. It's a popular book by a popular man. Who is that man? With the title of one of his works, Audacity of... Anyone? If you know it, I'll give you this book free. Going, Gone, Barack Obama.
Hello everyone, my name is Kausara and I am originally from Nigeria. And I just wanted to say, I've been here for 6 years and just seeing everyone's experience in Nigeria. Like when you said being the oldest is you're the assistant mother. So it's I can really just connect. And I was working on a group project the other day and everyone in my group was African American. I was the only original African. And our project was about African diaspora. Just seeing how everyone was eager to hear what I have to say because I lived in Nigeria and have experience. It was just really interesting because even though we have technologies and stuff, I feel people still find it difficult to know who they are or find out more about who they are. But I like how my generation will working towards it. Everybody want to know where their root is from. So yeah.
I think she deserves a clapping offering. Thank you so much. We thank you. We will do a group rendition of one of the poems written by one of my students in the African Diaspora class, honors class, in 2007, right here in what is today Global Communication and Journalism building. It was written by Karachi Utonwa Okpara, and the title is Disperser. So I want us to stand up, the panelists, and we will read it together. And then after the rendition, I'll call on Dr. Johnson to give, or Dr. Natasha Pratt to give us a closing remarks. So you can just take a look at this. We are reading Disperser. You, I, our brother, across the sea, all more connected than we seem to be. Okay. We share a proud heritage, a shining history, one steadily revealed, that began as a mystery. We sprung from one continent, the cradle of man's birth, and we spread to the far, blue, green, and earth. We acquired cultures, new languages, new names, and internal identity burned bright as a flame. We, the proud Africans, pioneers of the human race, our suffering did not break us. It only made us stronger. Our endurance is a steel band. Our lives are much longer. Okay. That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. At this point, I'll call on Dr. Pratt to kindly give us a closing remarks, and then we thank you so sincerely for coming.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We are a call and response people. We are thankful for our panelists who shared from their own hearts and from the hearts of those who wrote in this phenomenal publication. It is an absolute joy and blessing to hear the words of students who are connecting in a class like was shared today. Thank you so much. Thank the students who came in today. Oftentimes our students are called in to Convocation. Today is Trans-Africa Day Convocation. They know that they are earning credit for being in place, but when they leave, they are leaving with something they may not have expected. They may be filled, they got some knowledge, they are inspired, they're trying to figure out something I'm trying to figure out, which is how are we going to visit Ghana, at least, where Morgan State has its presence in Ghana? How are we going to get there? I think everyone in this room probably has his eyes at least on Ghana. I know I do. Yes. I'm bringing you greetings from the Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and Criminology and Criminal Justice. I'm an associate professor there. And in the College of Liberal Arts, where the department is housed, we have the Du Bois Diggs Center on Race and Social Justice. And one of the charges for this new center is to support Trans-Africa Day. And I'm happy that we are adding this to one of the things we were able to do in this first year. Thanks to Dr. Edwin Johnson for putting this group together and being a pivotal part in the center being established in the College of Liberal Arts. I was recording a little earlier because I would love to share more of what happened today. I specifically was excited to hear about Dr. Malik's diaspora class, if I'm not mistaken, this is a diaspora class, where this class is a requirement for Morgan students, which is a beautiful thing when we are advising students to have to take this class that's empowering. My husband is a Morgan alum, and he talked about diaspora being everything for him, and he still has and refers to his book that he had in that particular class. So I recorded today to share it with one of our former diaspora professors, because I'm hoping that the persons who were here today will be able to connect with some of the folks who were in place before. Thank you all for coming. Please do reflect on this beautiful moment. And I'm excited that one of the things that was highlighted is Kwanzaa. We are in the month of celebrating Kwanzaa, which gets its principles from the Nguzaba, and I actually did my dissertation on Kwanzaa and how we apply the principles to our daily lives. And we see it here just in our coming together and acknowledging our connection to the motherland. Again, thank you all for coming. Enjoy this Thursday and happy Kwanzaa. Take care. Thank you. Thank you.